I want to call to order the December 9, 2014 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. I want to welcome all of you who are here in the council chamber to the council chamber tonight. I also want to welcome those who might be watching us on Channel 10, those who might be watching on the computers, those who might be listening on the computers, those who might be listening on the radio. This is your city government, and we want you to participate in any way that happens to work for you. So we welcome all of you. Also, I might make mention up front tonight of something. We will not be meeting in 2 weeks on the 23rd. We've canceled that meeting, so the next time that we're going to meet as a Oshkosh Common Council will be in January on the January 13th. So this is the end of the year. So a couple quick comments. One, I want to wish everybody a great holiday period and also a happy new year. This can be a great time of the year. I'd also like to remind people that while it's a great time for so many of us, there are some people this is not such a great time of the year for. So I'd ask people to reach out to those who are less fortunate, who are going to have a tough time for one reason or another. This is a time when we can all reach out individually, make somebody's life a little better, whether it's inviting them over for dinner or providing something for them. Consistent with that, I might make mention of arm of the city government that's very involved in reaching out. Last week and this week is the Oshkosh Fire Department. Annually, they go through the neighborhoods and pick up toys. Also, if they don't happen to be coming through your neighborhood or you happen to miss them, you can take the toys to the firehouse. So they work very hard to make the lives of some young folks in our community better. So hopefully all of us can do the same thing and reach out. Okay, I'm going to ask Clerk, take the roll call of the council members.
Ellison Osby.
Here.
Piensky.
Here.
Fitzgerald.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Peck.
Here.
Hermit.
Here.
Tower.
Here.
Present 7.
I'd ask all to rise for the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be led by Deputy Mayor Allison Osby, and then we'll have the pledge by our students.
We ask for guidance tonight as we begin this meeting. May all those who participate in our discussions and our decisions reflect the values that we cherish in this great city.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask our students, stand up here. Everybody wants to see you. Turn to look out there. They want to see you from the front. So the folks on television. We do very much appreciate you guys coming out and helping us tonight. We want to learn a little bit about you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the microphone down, and each one of you can tell us what your name is, where you go to school, what grade you're in. This is the holiday season, and my guess is that probably most of you have some sort of a tradition that you might follow at the holiday season. So you might want to share that with the folks who are watching it. So I'll pass the microphone down.
Hi, my name is Angelique Lohr. I go to Carl Triga Middle School. I'm in 7th grade. And every year we have a blessing for our family around Christmas.
Hi, my name is Erin Sosarski. I go to Carl Triga Middle School. I'm in 7th grade. And every year my family gets together and have a big feast.
Hi, my name is Mia Salvago. I go to Washington Elementary School. I'm in 5th grade. And every year we gather at my grandmother's house, and we have to eat first, but then we open presents.
Hi, my name is Cora Bruley. I go to Washington Elementary School. I'm in 5th grade, and every year for Christmas, we go to family members and celebrate Christmas.
Steal the microphone back for you. Well, we do appreciate you coming down to help us tonight. We do have certificates. I'd like to say for all 4 of you, but through some confusion, I have certificates for 2 of you. The other two individuals who get certificates at their school, we'll make sure those certificates get there. So, the certificate for Mia, Cora, and if we could, I'd like to give these young people a hand. Okay, you guys can take off. Your families can take off. You don't have to listen to the rest of the things we do here tonight. Okay, tonight we have a couple special presentations of things that are of interest, I think, to the community at large. The first one has to do with the UW Oshkosh Accelerator. We're going to have a presentation on that, and I'm going to ask the city manager to introduce Elizabeth Hartman, who I think will do most of the presentation.
I believe she will. Elizabeth Hartman is currently closing out her duties as the executive director of CHAMCO and is also working at the university these days, assisting them with the Accelerator project. She's been helping them with that since we received the Department of Defense grant, but it's a project that UW Oshkosh has been anticipating for quite a long time. So Elizabeth's going to have a little presentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have afterwards.
Thank you, Mark, and Common Council. Hopefully my technological challenges won't be too great here.
And he can help.
Okay, all right. Well, you did get a PowerPoint printout in your materials, but we thought it was a good time to kind of regroup, provide some additional background information on this important project in the community, and give some updates. But first, a little bit on how we got here. This project has been in process for quite some time. In 2011, CHAMCO was approached by someone who wanted to donate a building to us, and we thought fantastic, but it was way too big for anything that we could ever use it for. So we started evaluating it as a potential incubator space. And we thought that that might be a good idea, but we wanted to study it further. So CHAMCO partnered with the Small Business Development Center and did a feasibility study in 2012. And what that feasibility study concluded is that really the next generation of incubators, if you will, which is a way of encouraging entrepreneurs to start and develop their businesses, was to have a comprehensive business accelerator program. And then the thought was we would either use the building that was being donated to house the accelerator program as well as other entrepreneurs, or build a new facility in what was then proposed Aviation Business Park, which is now a reality. So the feasibility study concluded that we should foster growth in 5 industries, aviation being a focus, advanced materials, advanced manufacturing, information technology, and clean technology. And if we look at the industry mix that we have in our area, that certainly makes some sense. The study also recommended that we follow a recognized model that already exists and is very successful. It's called the TechStars model. And what it combines is 3 key components. One is investment in all the companies that go through the program, networking opportunities, and an intensive mentoring program for 12 weeks. So for 12 weeks, these folks work only on their business, and they are connected to resources that help make them successful. TechStars was founded in Boulder, Colorado in 2007. It has a very strong success rate of the companies that have gone through. 89% of them are still in business, and they are employing more than 3,400 people. So it's a very successful program. So some other things that were going on at the same time that kind of led to a synergistic project. Did this go out? Is it okay? Can you still hear me? Okay, okay. You can still hear me though? Okay. So CHAMCO had an effort underway to try to foster growth in aerospace-related businesses, and that led to the Oshkosh Aviation Business Park, which the city, as you know, and the county partnered with historically to create a jointly owned business park. Angels on the Water was established. That's our local angel investment fund. Formed a relationship with Generator, an accelerator program in southern Wisconsin. The targeted industry study was underway, and Aero Innovate, a university-led initiative, was getting a lot of traction in the industry. Aero Innovate is an initiative that helps aero innovators that are looking to bring new technologies and aero-related businesses to bring that technology to market. And there are a number of ways that Aero Innovate has done that. It's been having programming at Air Venture since 2009, and an annual pitch and mingle event, which allows new companies to come and showcase their company to a group of investors, and it's been very successful. But why should we do an accelerator? You know, lots of folks asked that question initially. Why should we do this? Entrepreneurs create jobs. There was a study that was done in 2010 by the Kauffman Foundation that concluded that from the time period of 1977 to 2005, if you took out the jobs that are created by startup companies, the United States would have experienced no net job growth. So those are the businesses that are having the explosive growth and are providing jobs to our economy. And it's really a philosophy of economic development. Recruitment is always the sexy thing that everybody focuses on because it's really cool and it's big news to bring a large business to your community. And that's fantastic and should be part of any economic development strategy. But it also has its downside because typically you have to pay those businesses a lot in incentives to come and relocate from someplace else. And a lot of times those businesses are not that loyal to your community. If they can be bought from someplace else to come here, they can be bought by another community somewhere else down the road. Fostering entrepreneurship is different because when you invest in those businesses, those folks are loyal. They remember who helped them. They remember who helped them get started. And they stay loyal to your community. And they create jobs. We have to remember companies, great Wisconsin companies such as Johnson Controls, Oshkosh Corporation, Harley-Davidson, were all startup companies in Wisconsin. And why do we want to do one here in Northeast Wisconsin? Well, we're the third largest population center in the state. We don't have an accelerator program. There's one operating in Madison and Milwaukee. We have great local assets that can support this project, the university being key, Aero Innovate, Angels on the Water, Business Success Center, the Aviation Business Park. And the program would be this 12-week intensive mentoring. We're going to run 2 classes per year. One will be a fall class, which is going to be called Venture Excel, and that will focus on Northeast Wisconsin and will be a mixed industry class. So we'll be looking at, advanced manufacturing, information technology. We'll be looking at a variety of industries. And then in the spring will be the Aero Innovate class, which will be aviation focused only. And then it really just grows on the efforts of Aero Innovate already. And what it will do is then that 12-week period will culminate in the Pitch and Mingle event at Air Venture, where the companies can showcase their business to investors. There is an investment that will be made into these companies by the program, but it's designed to be an evergreen program. So any investment returns that will come back into the program. There's not going to be outside investors that are making money. It's going to be recycled back into the program to continue investing in new businesses. And there'll be access to UW Oshkosh faculty, student interns, mentors, experienced entrepreneurs, business people, and we will provide physical space with support services. Now, the support facility is in the planning stages right now. Short term, we're going to lease space, and the accelerator program will be operated out of some leased space. But the grand vision is to have an actual physical facility that's located in the new Aviation Business Park. And, the vision would be that you bring these companies here, even if they're from someplace else, and you showcase what it is that Oshkosh has to offer, and you provide this great experience to them of getting their business started, and give them all these resources to get connected. Then they move into the, accelerator facility. Then they grow their business. Then they move into the Aviation Business Park. And that's really, what we're trying to achieve, 10 or 20 years down the road. Many project partners involved in this, UW Oshkosh taking the lead with providing operation and ownership of the building and the program itself, as well as providing a lot of supporting resources. As you know, Winnebago County and the city of Oshkosh have made significant investments in the Aviation Business Park, as well as the city creating a TIF district to help with accelerator facility costs. And GoEDC, we're hoping, will be a partner in this project as well, provide marketing and perhaps facility support services. We've got a great amount of support for this project. As you know, we were fortunate enough to get a $2 million grant from the Economic Development Administration for infrastructure costs in the Aviation Business Park. We also have more than $1 million from the Department of Defense, which is supporting planning efforts associated with the accelerator and the aerospace business cluster. And the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation has also pledged support for both the program and the facility. And as all of this has been happening, other great things have validated this idea. The Oshkosh Targeted Industry Study concludes many of the same things that we did about industries to target: aviation, manufacturing, IT. The state is undertaking an effort to foster the growth in aerospace business by creating the Wisconsin Aerospace Partners, and that will be led by UW Oshkosh. And we have commitments from so many different partners involved in the project. This is just an outline of the timeline. We're really in planning stages right now. We will be running the Aero Innovate class starting in April. There'll be a Venture Excel class in the fall. We're in the process of hiring an accelerator director right now and a director of Aero Innovate. The university is hiring those folks. Infrastructure for the park will be put in place in the fall, and we're going to be out there trying to, raise additional grant money as well as private sector support for this project with the goal to start construction on the facility in spring of 2016. We've got a lot of working groups working on this. There is a Chamco Aviation Development Committee, which will become the GoEDC Aviation Development Committee after January 1, as well as 3 accelerator groups. And so we're always looking for more people who are interested in being involved. But really what we hope to achieve with this project is it's a long-term strategy to help businesses create jobs and to diversify our economy. And we want to continue to build the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Northeast Wisconsin. We need to do more to support our entrepreneurs and creating this self-sustaining evergreen type program. And it'll provide knowledge sharing opportunities clearly for university faculty and students with the businesses in the accelerator program. But in the end, we want to attract more capital, more businesses, faculty, students, residents to our region and our state. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Amazing job in a short period of time. So, thank you very much for holding to that.
You bet.
Questions people might have about Aero Innovate? It looks like there are no questions. Again,
Okay.
we appreciate the work you're doing. This is a project that really looks ahead. We had industries that build Oshkosh. Some of that is maturing now, and we need to look ahead, and this is an important way to do it. So thanks for your work. Thanks for your presentation.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Okay, we have a second presentation tonight. Presentation has to do with the strategic plan for the city of Oshkosh. We completed a strategic plan about 3 years ago, and we just finished that up. If you happen to come in downstairs, you can see the schematic of that strategic plan for the 2012 to 2014, and then this past summer, members of the Oshkosh Common Council got together with representatives of the city manager and department heads, and developed a new plan for the next 3 years, again, as we try to look ahead and make sure that we're planning and preparing for the future. So we're going to presentation of that strategic plan now, and hopefully, and within a short period of time, we'll have a schematic downstairs which will reflect this, so everybody comes in downstairs. We'll get to see what we're doing, how we're doing it. Mr. Roloff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you recall, as you mentioned, on July 9th, we had a retreat with department heads and the city council to update our strategic plan. Our strategic plan, the last one, most recent one, was 2012 to 2014. We're nearing the end of 2014, and the idea was to identify our goals for the next 2 years. And I think during the retreat, it was the most positive thing that I think came out of it was that I think for the most part, people felt we were going in the right direction, and we just needed to fine-tune some of our priorities. And Brian Chapman, our organizational development specialist, has put together the graphic that's in your package, a little more color-coded, and I think Brian's going to have a screen that'll be able to show that as well. But if you recall, with our 2012 to 14 strategic plan, we had identified 6 strategic goals for that biennium. We've got them narrowed down to 5, but they really reflect a lot of the same values that the council had talked about earlier, specifically the goals about supporting economic development, continuing to strengthen our neighborhoods, improving and maintaining our infrastructure, improving our quality of life assets, and then we took 2 of our old goals and we consolidated into one to develop an effective, high-performing government, which added some other elements in there as well. Within economic development, a lot of it was continuing to facilitate the process for business developers. We're going to hear a little bit later on about GoEDC. Part of that is getting measurements for economic development, which I think with the agreement you have before you and what we've been talking about with GoEDC, we're going to achieve those goals. With respect to neighborhoods, it's going beyond our partnership with NeighborWorks, but we have a very vibrant initiative to get neighborhood organizations established throughout the city. One of the challenges I gave the staff this year was to get a South Side neighborhood identified, and they've been working on that, and we're going to be adding South Side neighborhoods to to many of the north side neighborhoods that we've already have established. And so that's a real key element of that. When we talk about making Oshkosh a destination of choice, it's getting people to recommend neighborhoods in our community, and that's part of the strengthening neighborhood process. So we're real happy with some of the things we're going in there, as well as what the police department's doing with crime prevention and giving people a sense of neighborhood and ownership of those neighborhoods. So we're excited about that. Maintaining infrastructure is continuing an initiative the council gave me when I started back in 2008, and keep doing as much as we can, recognizing financial limitations, but continue to maintain infrastructure, but also transit, bike, and pedestrian infrastructure with our bike and ped plan, weaving in other elements of that, but also with our infrastructure, city buildings. The key point there for this biennium was the construction of the Public Works Field Operations Facility that's due to be done in winter, spring, depending on Dave's latest update to me, which I'm expecting any time. But we've got a lot of infrastructure that we need to get taken care of, and that's clearly a big issue. Quality of life assets, we can talk a lot about a lot of things such as infrastructure that people want to see as really minimum requirements. But what actually makes us a place of choice, it's a good place to live and it's a good place to raise a family, and the quality of life assets are really what distinguish us. And we have an outstanding museum, library, park system, all those things to be proud of. We need to maintain those to keep that pace going. And that's something that we recognized in there. And then with internal operations, effective high-performing government, financial position capabilities, continuing the direction Council gave us to get our debt under control and get it into a point where we can improve our financial standing with the rating agencies. Improving employee engagement. We can't accomplish what we do without our employees being a critical part of that input process. And some of the initiatives that we brought to Council in the last couple of years, I think, reflect that, and it's taken that to the next level. We've been talking about health insurance. That's another one where we get the employees engaged on that. Performance culture with performance measures, things of that nature, and then educating and engaging the citizens, marketing the city, communicating value. That's part of the high-performing government. Towards that end, what I've asked department heads to do is to work, and within each of these areas, we want to give the council a dashboard that they can use when they're talking to members of the public, and 2 key performance indicators within each of these areas that we can have. Now, that'll end up being 10 indicators, but for a dashboard, that's a pretty busy dashboard, but we want to identify 2 really important ones that you have a great deal of ownership with, that you can effectively communicate with constituents when you're doing, when you're communicating. Getting that, as the mayor said, we have that strategic plan in the lobby, communicating that to the public and saying we're willing to be held accountable for performance and having those indicators in there. That's the next step in the process as we evolve with our strategic planning process. So, Brian, I think you have some way to show some of the measurements that how we're going to do some of those measurements as we proceed.
Yeah, so what we've done so far is we've identified a software that we want to use to track the plan and our metrics, kind of meld them together. This first one here is we're going to create a scorecard for each one of our priority goals, so our economic development, quality of life assets. Each one will have their own scorecard that highlights the priorities and some of the objectives. You can see here what you can do also is associate some of those metrics. So the ones Mark has, the department heads collecting, will be able to associate them to show progress. Again, we can create different views, but we're going to be able to track the progress of the strategic plan. Down to the project level, each one of these priority goals have a series of projects. We'll be able to keep track of the timelines, dollars spent, who's responsible for what, any milestones. With it also, we're going to create department summary scorecards to give you and the public kind of the high-level operations side of the departments. You can see a couple screenshots of what we've been working on. We're going to associate their objectives with their metrics that we show in the budget. And then from there, create the dashboards. And we'll be able to print these off on a quarterly basis for city manager roll-off, the council to review, the department heads to review, whoever it may be. again, getting a little bit more into it, so from the dashboard, you can drill down into the actual performance metric, have some analysis on there, show any kind of progress. The nice thing about what the system's called ClearPoint, the nice thing about it is it has a public-facing site to it, so everything that we develop inside of it, we can broadcast it externally to the citizens, and you can be able to go on there and review it as you want. So what I've shown you here is a screenshot of the city of Charlottesville. This is the same technology with kind of the same format that we're setting up with. So you'll be able to see our strategic plan and drill down and do all the projects and the metrics. So we'll be able to continuously report out to the public and the council.
That's pretty much our presentation. Our goal is to bring it to you next month for final approval. I did challenge Brian to work on a new graphic that we can present. The last time we had the GPS, but even after 2 years, the GPS is a little bit dated, so we want to think of a new approach to communicate that. The business cards I thought were very effective in being able to communicate what our strategic goals were, and we want to do something like that again. We think that that's a very effective way. Appreciate Mayor Tower's suggestion about that. It's a very good icebreaker when you're talking to people about what our goals are, and you can really share a lot. And it's also getting into our mission, vision, as well as our guiding principles, which I think have really helped us bring communicate our strategic plan and bring forth our strategic goals. So, do you have any questions, Brian or I? Or
When are you thinking of trying to implement the software?
I've been working on it for the past couple months. It's going to be a long process trying to get the departments with their metrics, but I hope to have the strategic plan done shortly after you guys adopt it in January. So at least we can start reporting out those metrics and those projects.
We're going to be getting those metrics because regardless of what tweaking the council may or may not do with the strategic plan, those goals or those metrics are still relevant regardless of what we get done with the final product of the plan. They're valid metrics regardless, so we're going to get working on that immediately so that when we're reporting them out, we're not starting it on February 1 because council didn't approve it till January. We're going to start counting those things up immediately.
Anything else? Any other questions? Again, I think we can take pride in the fact that we have the strategic plan. Not only have it, a lot of people have strategic plans, but we've developed it pretty thoroughly. We've lived the strategic plan. We've lived it through our budget. We've shared the strategic plan with others. We want to be held accountable, so we have the metrics, and we'll continue to publish that. Hopefully, we'll get some graphics done, and if not before, at least for the March State of the City address, we could break all that out and have a little presentation at that time. Yeah.
One of the comments that I'd like to make regarding the strategic plan was I think it's really unique. We did this a couple years ago, and we did it in a different type of setting. It was more, we were in a university classroom, and we had a chance to engage, but not really, and it was really our first time around. Well, then this time we did it at the Alumni Center, and it was real unique. It wasn't like staff was on one side of the room and council's on the other side of the room, and we're on opposite ends, of the spectrum, therefore not being on the same page. It wasn't like that at all. Staff and the council were very, very much engaged, and it was amazing how we went through the process, how very similar we were in the vision and the direction of where we wanted the city to go. So I think it's encouraging. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to continue on the path that we've been on, and look forward to seeing that scorecard coming out.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, that takes us to citizen statements to the council. This is when individual citizens have the opportunity to come up to the microphone. The microphone's on up there, and maybe indicate what a concern is you have with the city at this particular point in time, or maybe there's something you'd like to comment on that's very positive going on in the city. We like those positive comments too. So if you do come up, limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Please give us your name and address. Direct your comments to the council. There's to be no electioneering. And this is not the time to speak about anything that's actually on the business agenda. So if anybody would like to come forward? See no one come forward, that'll take us to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is made up of a number of items that are viewed as being non-controversial in nature. As such, they'll be taken up by the council as a group. If any citizen or any council member would like to have a particular item removed from the consent agenda, all they have to do is say so. I'll remove it from the consent agenda, and we will take it up as a separate item following the consent agenda. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the consent agenda items. If you'd like to speak to a particular item, please come up to the microphone and do so. And then after that, I'll bring it back to the council for consideration by the council for approval. Okay, here are the items. Approval of bills presented by the finance director. Approval of cash report from 2014. Receipt of claims filed with the city's insurance company. Toby Mullins for alleged damages to his vehicle from a city snowplow. Christopher Bullard for alleged injuries to son while playing in Little Oshkosh at Menominee Park. Resolution 14-530, approved professional service agreement with Tyler Technologies for statutory assessor and commercial appraisal activities. Services. Resolution 14-531, approve amendment to agreement with LifeQuest for ambulance billing and collection services. Resolution 14-532, award bids for chemicals for water filtration and wastewater treatment plants for 2015. Resolution 14-533, revised code enforcement schedule of fees to include second, third, and fourth and subsequent fees for code enforcement service fee. Resolution 14-534, approve various fees for solid waste disposal. Resolution 14-535, approve charges for extraordinary services for special events for 2015. Resolution 14-536, approve agent change for combination Class A license, combination Class A license, operator and secondhand dealer licenses. See no one coming forward? One last chance? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council. Are there questions about any of the items from the council members? Any particular items that want removed from the consent agenda? Okay, if not, I'll ask for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented tonight. Any further discussion at this point on any item? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on the consent agenda as presented to the council.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, there were no items removed from the consent agenda, so it'll take us to pending ordinance. First one is, and what we'll do is we'll do these one at a time. So the first one is, and if you'd like to speak to a particular ordinance, come up to the microphone at the time I read it. Ordinance 14-537, create ordinance pertaining to bicycle lane restrictions. See no one coming forward, come back to the council for a motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on ordinance 14-537.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, ordinance 14-538, approve rezoning 2105 South Keller Street from C2 General Commercial with a Highway 41 overlay to C2 General Commercial with a Highway 41 overlay and a planned development overlay. Anybody like to come forward to speak to that? See no one come forward? I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none? I'll ask the clerk to take the roll call vote on ordinance 14-538.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 14-539, approve official mapping for extension of Farmington Avenue extending easterly and southwesterly from existing Farmington Avenue to Kristen Drive, and extension of Kristen Drive extending easterly and northwesterly to Farmington Avenue. Well, I'd come forward. See no one come forward, I'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on ordinance 14-539.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, this takes us to a new ordinance. Ordinarily on a new ordinance, there are 2 readings at 2 consecutive council meetings. This will be the first reading on this particular item. There may be a motion here that looks like to waive the rules and adopt on the first reading tonight. So if anybody would like to come forward after I read it, please feel free to do so. Ordinance 14-540, revised section 1132, permits for electrical work required to delete exception number 3 and renumber as appropriate. All right, come forward. Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do I see a motion asking to waive the rules?
I'll make a motion to waive the rules, reference ordinance 14-540, so it can be approved.
Okay, second. As we always do, if there's this type of motion, citizens have the opportunity to come forward to ask any questions about that. Seeing people not coming forward, I'll see if there's any council discussion regarding waiving the rules and voting on ordinance 14-540 tonight. Okay, ask clerk, take the roll call vote on the motion to waive the rules.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, that takes us back to ordinance 14-540 for consideration tonight. It's been moved and seconded already. Any discussion at this point?
Just one.
Sure.
The reason for those that may be wondering why we waived the rules, this has to do with adding fees to the electrical work, and staff would like to have that go into effect as of the first of the year. And since council's not meeting a second meeting in December, they asked to have the rules waived.
Thank you. Okay, I'll ask clerk, take the roll call vote on ordinance 14-540.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, that takes us to new resolutions. And again, we'll go through these one at a time, so as I read a resolution, if you'd like to comment on it, please feel free to come up to the microphone and make those comments. We'll go through these one at a time. Resolution 14-541, approve plan development for age-restricted senior living development on property located in the Marion Road redevelopment area, Rivers 1.5. And I'd like to come forward to speak to that. If not, I'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, discussions at this point?
Is Mr. Dumke,
Mr. Dumpke's in the back. Mr.
if you could
Dumpke?
come forward? Thanks for coming. I just want you to explain the project a little bit so that the community kind of knows what you're building out there. This is your third project in that general area, and
Yep.
go ahead.
Well, the first project furthest to the west is a 60-unit, 55 and older complex. The second project, which is the one that's under construction right now, is 80 units, market rate apartments. We anticipate delivering those this spring. And the original project, the 60-unit one, has gone very well. So our goal would be to do the phase 2 of that, which is 40 units. It's just the maximum amount of units we can put on that site. That site itself is 1.2 acres. We anticipate putting a small park on the corner, working with the city to do that. That's the land that's highly contaminated. And somehow melding in their landscaping with ours and trying to, make it friendly to the public, I guess. So.
How do you anticipate the Riverwalk and the boat docks and all the things that the city has enhanced in that area to enhance your project?
Well, first of all, it's a beautiful area. I don't know if you guys have been behind the current building and the one that's under construction, but the park itself is going to have additional benches, hopefully a water fountain, stuff we're going to sit down and work with the Parks Department on. But we're also putting a sidewalk from Marion Road to the Riverwalk between the two current projects. That's going to be part of the park. And then we're going to put balconies on the water side of this project, similar to what we did on the other two.
Okay. In the application and stuff you mentioned for tax credits and that, can you just kind of explain how that kind of works, and is there any concern that the city would have to have with the application? Do we have to help up front it? Do we have to do anything to help the process?
Nothing that the city needs to do. I mean, I felt like it was our responsibility to make everyone aware of it. The tax credits, by us selling the tax credits, it brings in a significant amount of equity into the project, which enables us to build the projects, that particular project. To build that project without tax credits, you'd need to rent those units for 3 or 4 times what we would be able to rent them for in this market. So basically, it just enables us to build a far superior product to what our market is capable of renting the units for. With the property itself being contaminated, having soil condition issues, we have to build on pilings. There's a lot of challenges that are involved with this particular parcel, all of them, but this one in particular. So again, it just helps raise the equity to build the type of project that we can be proud of, I guess. So.
And I guess I would have to say we are. I mean, it's an exciting project. The ones you have done in the city and have continued to do have really added a lot to the community, and I think it really helps that area that's been waiting for something to happen. So I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Questions,
Just a
comments?
quick question. Excuse me. The rent prices are going to be similar to the phase 1 of the project?
Correct.
Is that-
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Mr. Dupke. Appreciate the work you're doing and appreciate you being here. Okay, again, we're with Resolution 14-542. Any other questions, discussion of any kind? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on Resolution 14-541.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Piensky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
This takes us to Resolution 14-542, approve conditional use permit for service station at Auto Body Shop Plan Development for Sam's Club, 2105 South Keller Street. Anybody like to come forward at this point in time? Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second on Resolution 14-542.
So moved. Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We can have discussion. There are 2 representatives from Sam's Club right here with us, if you'd like to ask them any particular questions about the project. They're here in the front row. Looks like you get off easy. We do appreciate you coming up to be prepared to answer the questions. Okay, and any discussion at this point in time? Again, the one point I'll make is that Ms. Hartman was up before. She talked about entrepreneurs, and one of the real advantages is that they don't ask for a lot of money to come to town. And this is a group that I ought to point out has not asked for money to come to town. So, in contrast to some others, so I commend you for that and thank you for that. Okay, one more chance. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on Resolution 14-542.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Piensky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, it takes us to Resolution 14-543, approve Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund Program Manual. Anybody like to comment on that? Seeing no one comment, I'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion at this point?
Yeah, Mr. Davis, yeah. I guess I'll go first. I'll defer to Mr. Peck since I've asked a couple questions. Right, go right ahead.
All right, well, this comes out of the Long Range Finance Committee. This is another leg of the stool in our economic development programs within the community. This is basically just that. It's a revolving loan fund that we will have established where the city will assist qualifying businesses to locate, expand, retain businesses within the community. They're loans that are based on the amount of jobs that are created or retained, and it is something that this council has been looking for quite a period of time. The recommendation out of long-range finance was a unanimous vote to send it to council, and they approve it. So, Mr. Davis, if you'd like to add anything additional, or...
One thing, you talked about the strategic plan earlier tonight. This was in the original strategic plan that the city set out for itself a couple years ago. So you're doing what you set out to do.
And one last one is that for me is that as I served 12 years on the Winnebago County Board. The Winnebago County Board had a revolving loan fund, as Elizabeth is smiling and shaking her head. So I think she can attest to the fact that it was a great success and continues to be that. And so what we want to do is we want to do the same thing within Oshkosh, for Oshkosh.
Councilor Osby.
Thank you for letting me cut in before Councilor Herman.
He backed off a little bit, so.
No, it's on the heels of what Councilor Peck had to say. Both Tom and I serve on the long-range finance, and certainly Mrs. Hicks Sorensen as well as Alan Davis has come before long-range finance, and we've talked about this a couple of times. I think the thing that really, I think, impressed upon long-range finance is that the document was very well prepared before it even came to us. So, you know, the fact that it came to us and we had the opportunity to shoot some holes through it, there weren't a whole lot of holes to really shoot. There wasn't a whole lot to shoot. So we certainly appreciated that, and, you know, to the points just a bit ago, you know, it is one more tool in our toolbox to help set us apart, you know, from our neighbors, and to help, you know, bring more jobs into the community, which is really what we need to do. So I support it.
Mr. Fitzgerald, I'll get to you, Mr. Herman. Save your questions down there. I'll let the others go.
No problem. I had just a few concerns brought to my attention from folks in the community about the size of this RLF, that 2.4 million. And you and I had a conversation about how we were arriving at that point. After I went back and explained to those people, they were more comfortable with that. But could you just explain how we're coming up with that money and how we'll be arriving at that over the next 3 years, Mr. Davis?
Absolutely. The city's created tax increment finance districts in years past, and as time has gone by, the city's looked to close those districts. Over the last couple years, we've closed TID District 6, 8, and coming up will be number 9. And when the city closes those districts, typically there's going to be a cash balance left over. And I think it was the Long Range Finance Committee's opinion that since an economic development fund created the money, that it should remain an economic development type of activity. And this kind of matched what the council was looking for with creating an economic development revolving loan fund. So it's not tax dollars that we're going specifically into this. It's residual dollars from a successful TIF district, 3 successful TIF districts the city's closed in the last year. So I think that's the rationale. It was economic development created. It should be an economic development program.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Mr. Herman.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, you explained how we're coming up with the 2.4 million. How are we going to sustain it without dipping into operational sides of the city? I'm talking 5-10 years from now.
Well, it is designed to be a revolving loan fund so that anybody who gets these funds, they will be paying some kind of interest during the term of that loan, and when that money comes back, the principal plus the interest will go back into that fund. So that will maintain it and grow it, hopefully, over the foreseeable future. So it'll become self-sustaining is the expectation. Now, there will be some cases where we could lose money on an investment. That's a risk that the city tries to minimize by doing all their due diligence up front when it comes to making those loans. And we're looking at using the private sector leverage, if you recall, because we're only going to be doing at most 50% of our projects. We're still trying to minimize our risk. So if things work out, the fund itself will increase in total dollars as interest and principal payments are made in those 10, 20, 30 types of projects that we'll see over the foreseeable future.
Okay. We've talked briefly about tax increment financing districts and things. What's the big difference between this and a revolving loan fund for a business in the community to start up? Or is there different parameters, different goals with it, or just why should we have one of these versus just doing TIFs?
TIF districts are based on property value that would be increased, and that you have to make a lot of assumptions when it comes to the future. And that is a longer time frame. That for a TIF district, it's 20 to 30 years out there. With this particular program, we'll be able to do smaller projects because there's some projects that are just too small to make sense for a TIF. Some projects don't create a whole lot of property value, whereas this, so there isn't really much use for a TIF. And the time frame for getting it to revolve and create the jobs, I think, will be quicker with the revolving loan fund than with a longer-term TIF district. And I think the businesses will like it in that it's an investment up front rather than spread out over time with a pay-go.
Okay. There's several partners in this besides the city. Can you name a couple of the partners that will be working with this revolving loan fund?
Well, at this point in time, we're looking to use GoEDC for the public, one of those tools, so that they can review those, and they are setting up a committee of financial people, bankers, accountants, lawyers. Those are the type of people that will be on the review committee. And my expectation is, as time goes by, they're going to build more and more funds that relate to that, because GoEDC is going to be able to take care of this one. As time goes by, I think they'll be able to create more funds in the future for different types of projects. So I think we're going to leverage not only with the RLF today, but as GoEDC gets more and more involved, they'll create more funds that can leverage more dollars.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Any other comments? No? Ask clerk, take the roll call vote on resolution 14-543.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Piensky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
This is a natural lead-in to the next item, Resolution 14-544, approved contract with GoEDC for economic development services. We talk about GoEDC, it means Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation, so we're all on the same page there. So if you'd like to speak to that.
Sure. I'm Bill Wyman. I am the president of the board for GoEDC.
And where do you live? What's your
I live at 1373 Wagoo. I just want to say that it's been a strong private-public partnership so far. We've had some great private representation, both on our board and in the fundraising, which we're involved in right now. And there's some of us here tonight that, if you have any questions, shoot, we're ready for them.
Yeah, we can come back to that after we get it on the table here. So
Great.
Don't go away.
Okay.
Anybody else like to speak to it?
Me again, Elizabeth Hartman. I'm CEO of Chamco 43 East 7th Avenue. And I just wanted to make a couple of supportive comments about GoEDC. As you know, Chamco has been serving the community in an economic development capacity since 1960. And Chamco has been very supportive of the city's efforts to advance economic development and has been one of the forces behind creating GoEDC, along with a lot of other community members and organizations. And it is a true public-private partnership. And the Chamco board believes so strongly in GoEDC that as of January 1, we will be transferring our economic development responsibilities to this new organization, recognizing that the comprehensive approach, the expanded resources, capabilities, will really serve our community well going into the future. As you know, Chamco has always focused on industrial development, and GoEDC will be focusing on all industry and will have a very comprehensive approach. I'm very pleased with all the folks that are involved in it and engaged, and all the support that we've been getting. So I encourage you to support this resolution for this contract with services for GoEDC.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to come forward? Don't go away, Elizabeth, in case somebody has questions, too. Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second on Resolution 14-544.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved, seconded. Okay, now open it for discussion. So we have a number of representatives of people that have been involved in it at various stages. So, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you, Mayor. I will definitely support this. This was a goal that we outlined, I think, 3 years ago, and it's taken a couple of years to get them running. In the last few months with this group that has tackled this goal, it has gone very rapidly. I think it's what we all envisioned as far as a public-private partnership. I think it shows the strength of the community and the people in the community. They see the need for economic development in our community, so I'm definitely going to support this and have all the way along. So,
I spoke about public-private partnership and economic development 4 years ago when I was running for this seat that I sit in right now. I'm glad to see that we've gotten to this point. As Mr. Cummings said, it's taken us a little bit longer than we had hoped, but we're here, and I fully support this and am proud to be able to cast a aye vote for this evening.
Others? Other comments? Mr. Fitzgerald.
Well, quick question for you. I support this as well. Certainly individuals in the community have noted that I've been asking a lot of questions relative to the funding on this, and I think some people have even accused me of paranoia, but as journalists like Mr. Boyer and myself know that when an organization is getting a substantial majority amount of its funding from a public entity, that entity can be subject to open meetings laws and open records laws. And that's been a concern of mine since the very beginning when we first started talking about this as a council back in March. That was a concern of mine during the budget discussions last week. It sounds like fundraising is well on its way, Mr. Wyman, and that given what the city put forward in its budget that we approved last 2 weeks ago, it sounds like the fundraising that's been done already far outpaces that amount that the city's going to be contributing. With that, I'm not asking you to give a specific dollar amount at this point, but
yes, we are asking for 3-year commitments, and we're getting, I'd say 95% of the businesses we've talked to are committing. Matt, do you want to give a number of where we are at this point? Matt is our resource development chair.
I'm Matt Jamison, 300 Graceland Drive. I'm the president of J Manufacturing, but I also have the great pleasure of helping to coordinate the resource development for Go EDC. And as we've been making our investment calls around the city and with businesses, they've all been personal. We've been telling the story of Go EDC. We've been talking about why this is a good thing, and every single organization we've talked to are very excited about two things: public-private partnership, one-stop shopping. That's really what we're hearing. We started fundraising a little better than 7 weeks ago in earnest. Today, as of this morning, we have committed investments of $716,000 from the private sector. That's over a 3-year period. And considering the number of businesses in Oshkosh, it's really from a relative handful at this point and everything. But I don't know that we've been turned down by a single investment call that we've made. So that kind of gives you a little bit, flavor of kind of how the calls have been going, and we're pretty pleased with where we're at on that so far.
And Mr. Jamison, just I know there's a lot of other business owners out there that pay attention and are listening or watch this or will read about it tomorrow, but they may not have heard from you yet. There's a more public outreach associated with the investment that's happening later in
Correct. Everything we've done so far has been a personal visit with business owners in the community, and there will be after the first year, a more public kickoff of our efforts. Our fine marketing committee is working on that, and how we're going to roll ourselves out to the community, talk about our leadership, and really flesh out some of that private sector investment.
Great. Thank you. And I appreciate you reporting that number as well. It certainly alleviates any concern that I have about this as a quasi-public-private entity being more public than private. It certainly will be a private entity.
Other questions?
Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Osby.
Thank you. I'd like to concur with what the other council members had commented earlier. In fact, Mr. Peck and I, 4 years ago, when we were running, this was probably one of only things I think we agreed with at the time was economic development and seeing a different way of doing business. Not that we weren't doing economic development before, but doing something that was more collaborative among not only, the stakeholders, but also including the private sector as well. I think what's really unique, when it comes to contracts, I'm always nervous when it comes to taxpayer dollars of going out any more than a year. So I'm not going to lie, even though I'm, excited about this. 3 years is a little bit nervous with potential extensions. The difference being in this is that, first of all, there's been communication with the board members. I know with myself and I think perhaps with other council members as well. And there's been so much passion and energy in it. And then one of the board members had mentioned, and who's very seasoned in this community of being a part of different boards, had said this was like the one board meeting that he actually looks forward to, each month, because there's drive, there's passion, there's energy, there's a common vision, and there's a common goal. And when you look at really how long this group has been established, they've come up with mission, goals, a number of other documents, bylaws. And when I look at really the dynamic, it's extremely impressive. And also, too, these board members run their own businesses. None of them are doing necessarily Go EDC full-time. Now, Mr. Wyman has dedicated quite a bit of his time, and flexible. Yeah, exactly. And so it's a very impressive group that this is not the only thing that they have going on, but yet, for example, they set a fundraising goal. They're out 7 weeks and raise over $700,000. That's impressive. And not to mention, as Ms. Hartman had stated, Chamco's been a partner with the city for many, many, many years. That organization knew the writing on the wall. If we were to really come up, and if we were to really, from conception of where this council wanted to go with the direction to Mark, and then the Prager study and taking the meat out of that and applying it, and then really putting the emphasis forward to hopefully have this vision come to fruition. It's pretty amazing, and to raise that kind of money in a short period of time, that gives me an amazing amount of confidence in that, we should be a partner with this. And in regards to Chamco, for them to come forward and still want to be a very active and very participatory and also very energetic partner, knowing that it was going to be sunsetted and it was going to make a change. So, there's a lot of things about Go EDC that I can tell you with myself doing business in other parts of the state, other communities are watching, and they're watching to see what happens with this. I think it's exciting, and hopefully it's going to put us on the map, just not in Wisconsin, but in the Midwest. So I will support this.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Yeah, Chairman.
I just want to put kudos to Winnebago County also. We're not in this alone. Winnebago County is invested. The Industrial Development Board is also, funds are coming to Go EDC, so it's, again, that public-private partnership with the city, the county, Go EDC. The only question I have, and I'm not here to debate the Chamber of Commerce or any of their stuff, but they tout the same thing. So are we butting heads, or are we working together with the Chamber of Commerce? I guess, Mr. Wyman, you can answer that, because they say that they're the one-shop stop. Their website, their information they hand out, they're telling people that to go to them for economic development. So do we have two arms in Oshkosh, or are we working?
We are working very well with the Chamber. The Chamber is a very important member-based private organization. It's very important for businesses to be members of the Chamber. The Chamber offers a lot of things that will be part of the big strategic plan of economic development in the community, as the university will, as the tech school will, as the school district does, as the Convention Visitors Bureau. There's a lot of players involved in economic development in the community, including the Chamber. So yes, the Chamber will continue to do economic development in the community.
Very good. And I support this. I, too, when I ran 5 years ago, that was one of my 3 goals, was public-private partnership for economic development. So I've been at several of the meetings representing the council when the mayor couldn't make it when I was deputy mayor. And so it's a great partnership, and I think it's going to be successful, and I'm pleased to vote in favor of this also. Thank you.
Any other comments? Just have one comment. These gentlemen up here have been a big part of this, as has Mr. Castleback. There's been a big part of both the fundraising and the organization. We appreciate it, but there have been other people. Elizabeth Hartman's been a big piece of this. Mr. Sunleitner from the university been a part of it. Mr. Roloff has given his heart and soul to this project, along with number of other individuals. So we do appreciate the work of each one of you and making something that's not easy to make happen. So big change. So thank you. Okay, if there are no other comments, I'll ask the clerk to take the roll call vote on Resolution 14-544.
Ellison Osby.
Aye.
Piensky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, Resolution 14-545, approve amendment to agreement with the Oshkosh Grand Opera House Foundation for lease and operation of the Grand Opera House. Anybody like to come forward and speak to that?
Al Hartman, 2425 Patriot Lane, and current chair of the Oshkosh the Grand Opera House Foundation Board of Directors. And with me today is Joe Furlow, the CEO of the Grand Opera House as well. I'm here to ask you to extend the lease. We have with you for the Opera House. We'd like this extension until June 30th of 2015. This will allow us some time to work out some details in the lease and some issues that have come up and come under discussion relatively recently. So we would appreciate that. We'd like the lease to be continued under the same agreement, under the same terms as the current lease is right now. You know, when the roof almost literally fell in 5 years ago, it figuratively fell in for us. We have, during that period of time, our costs continued, yet we were closed for 18 months. We have not returned to the pre-closure time with our ticket sales. Ticket sales have remained below where we thought they were going to be during that period of time. You know, when a business closes for 18 months, those of you that are in business know it takes a long time for customers to come back, and that's what we're facing right now. Now, realizing the ticket sales were not where they needed to be, we did a couple of things. One, we added a position that allowed us to have a full-time marketing person and a full-time development person. One, the development person to help raise more money, and the marketing person to help, market the facility to get more ticket sales. In addition to that, we increased expectations on the part of the board in terms of their contribution to donating. Increased expectations on the part of the board to be more involved in fundraising itself, helping the staff. We raised expectations for the staff in terms of their raising of money, and we looked for other sources of revenue. We invested in the Grand Lounge and trying to make that a revenue source. We did not sit idly by waiting for the city or the room tax to bail us out. We took some specific actions to help address the problem we were facing. We have one other request of you, and that is we would like to have a workshop environment with you sometime in the spring to talk about your expectations for the Grand Opera House. What do you expect from us? What do you expect from us in terms of programming, in terms of use, and how we actually use the facility? So I hope that you'll grant that request so we can have a discussion about that prior to bringing the lease to you, hopefully before April. We appreciate the support that the city and the council has given over these almost 30 years since the Grand Opera House was renovated in the mid-1980s. I had the privilege of working with Lynn Webster for about a decade. And Lynn talked to me and told me about how the Grand was saved. She talked to me about how a high school student came to her when this Grand was going to be demolished and begged her not to let it happen. I can tell you that I am, the board is, and the staff are proud to be entrusted with this great facility. It's a legacy to prior leadership, Bill Free, Lynn Webster, and prior councils. So we appreciate that opportunity, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward at this point? See no one come forward. I'll ask for a motion and a second to Resolution 14-545.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to announce my business that I own, B2B, is provides a service for the Grand. We're a vendor that provides their playbills, and even though the Grand receives those at no cost, I know there's some perceived conflicts of interest that citizens in the community have, and so I'm going to vote present on this matter.
Anybody else? Comment? Mr. Herman?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a amendment to the lease under, let me just get it here a second. On the amendment, it would be under probably 2C, I guess it would be. And I make a recommendation, the amendment read, to move to amend the resolution and amendment to include a cap on the amount of room tax dollars received for the period from July 1, 2014 through June 30th, 2015, not to exceed $148,000 of room tax.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, as I always do when there's an amendment. If anybody would like to come forward to speak to the amendment. Basically continuing the lease for 6 months, but capping the total number of room tax dollars from for the year to go to no more than $148,000. See no one come forward, I'll bring it back to council for discussion. Comments? Yes, Ms. Allison Osby.
Unfortunately, Mr. Herman, I tuned you out on the very last part just to make sure that the dates were in there regarding July of 2014 to...
July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015.
Thank you.
Okay. We're all okay? Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk.
Mr. Mayor, just one more point on there. Mr. Hartman, you had requested the workshop fee. You were looking at April. I think we would kind of like to see that done a little bit sooner than that. Is that a possibility?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. I just saying I would like the workshop so that we could get a lease agreement to you. We prefer to get the lease agreement to you before April so that we get that done and we're ready to go July 1st with our budget. So we would like the workshop much earlier than April.
As would we.
How does January grab you?
January, I think the council's looking for January.
January?
If we can find a mutual date.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Other comments, questions? See none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on resolution. Let's see, we got an amendment. We got to take care of the amendment first, so. Any other comments on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll take the roll call vote on the amendment to resolution 14-545.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Piansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 6-1 present.
Okay, we now have an amended resolution before us, and I'll ask the clerk to take the roll call vote on resolution 14-545 as amended.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Piansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 6-1 present.
Okay, that takes us to further new resolutions. Turn the page here. Next one for consideration is Resolution 14-546, approve Oshkosh Police Supervisor Association contract for 2015 to 2017. Anybody like to come forward to speak to this? Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on Resolution 14-546.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Am I missing something here that I should be aware of?
No.
Losing her voice.
Voice just failed.
Okay, I can still ask the clerk and she'll, okay. Resolution 14-547, approve IAFF Local 316 contract for 2015 to 2017. Anybody like to come forward to speak to that? Seeing no one come forward, I'll ask for a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on Resolution 14-547. Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk or assistant to take the roll call vote on Resolution 14-547.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, Resolution 14-548, approve Oshkosh Fire Department Chief Officer's contract for 215 to 217. Anyone like to comment on that, please come forward. Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the council and for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, once again, I'll ask the clerk, assistant, take a roll call vote on Resolution 14-548.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 14-549, approve 2015 across-the-board market increase for regular non-representative employees. Would anybody like to come forward to comment on that? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, again, ask the clerk, the assistant, to take the roll call vote.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 14-550, approve and execute revised relocation order determination of necessity to acquire property for 9th Avenue, Washburn Street area storm water detention basin. Anybody like to come forward to discuss that? See no one come forward. I'll ask for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, again, last clerk, have the roll call vote taken.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
And Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, council discussion, direction of the city manager and future agenda items. First of all, a GO EDC update.
I think we've just updated you enough tonight, so nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Future agenda items, sex offender workshop, we've set a date, we did it the last time, January 26, 2015, from 6 to 8. Are we still okay with that as far as everybody knows? Yes. Okay, workshop with Oshkosh Area School Board to be determined. I'm not sure where we are on that.
I had a chance to meet with Superintendent Stan Mack, and there were 2 issues that he brought up that the school board had discussed, and I think before the council has a workshop that I think these are items that are primarily staff, but they could ultimately have an impact with the council. The two issues are development proposals and their impact on schools. Not unlike when we discussed the development that occurred just east of the Pick and Save store on Murdoch and the impact it had on Oak Lawn, even before Oak Lawn was opened. That's something that is of concern to the school district because anytime there's a new development, it can have a swing in population for schools, particularly new developments tend to attract families, and so that's something that they're concerned about. And I think that's something that we can discuss internally with our respective staffs before we talk about anything that may require council approval on that. But that was a coordination issue. The other one I need to learn a little bit more about because I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Maurer yet, but there was an issue between the Parks Department and the Recreation Department, which is, the Rec Department is operated by the school district in coordination of issues there. I'm not exactly sure what those issues are, but I want to talk to Mr. Maurer about that. So I don't have anything to tell you, any perspective on that at this time, but I'm going to be talking with Mr. Maurer about that. I would think that given your previous discussion about the grant, that may take a higher priority. I didn't sense that there was any urgency with these issues unless we have a big development coming and the school district wants to know about it. But I would think that perhaps the grant has a higher priority for the council at this time, and I think the school district would understand that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see the grant before the sex offender workshop, actually. So,
Mr. Roloff, would you please follow up with Mr. Furlow and Mr. Hartman and see, like, I'm just looking at possibly, because I think it would be a more in-depth workshop. I don't think it's going to be a 5 to 5:45 workshop. I'm going to throw out like Wednesday, the 14th.
I will not be here.
All right, what about Wednesday, the 21st, or Tuesday, the 20th?
Those would work for me.
Those are fine.
So maybe the 20th or 21st, and approach Mr. Furlow and Mr. Hartman and see which date works for them?
The 20th or 21st?
Yeah.
The 21st does not work for me.
Then the 20th.
20th works better for me as well.
We'd have it right after Plan Commission that day?
That would work for me.
Fantastic.
If that doesn't work out for whatever reason, please let me know, but I'll talk to Mr. Hartman about that, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible on that so you can pen it in on your calendar. Very good.
And I'm okay with the school district, or the workshop regarding, us in the school, because it sounds like, the reason why we were going to have it to begin with was to start communications, because if we don't have communications, we don't know if there's any issues.
Yeah.
So I think it's all good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Another, Mayor?
Yeah.
Just a couple things I jotted down here for 2015. I think I'd like us to look into a little bit more, and it's some stuff that I've been approached on by several landlords, and that is looking at our ordinances or how we just deal with illegal parking cars on rental property. The water bill was an issue. We got some contacts about that, where we have to put it on against, I guess, ordinances or zoning code things that deal with rental property, and instead of going after the tenant, we're always going after the owner of the property. And I don't know what rules, regulations, are we bound by state statutes? Can we do things differently? Because I think sometimes by the time the property owner hears about it, the problem's either gone or the tenant's gone or whatever, and action could be taken almost immediately, and right now we can't do that. And I'd like to look into that a little bit further, whether it would be staff, maybe the city attorney sending us more info, or just where we could be with that. And then I know you mentioned it at one of the council meetings, but we were to get an update on the riverfront, the community impact or input. I think that would be nice to have before we move forward with riverfront bid association or any of that kind of stuff.
You may recall that East Central Regional Planning Commission is assisting us with that, and I gave Alan enough time to walk up here to give you an update on where that is. It's getting pretty close.
Yes, in fact, I heard from Mr. Fowle, the Executive Director of East Central, that he's planning on doing the presentation to the Plan Commission next Tuesday. So he's starting to roll that out, and I'm sure council members could join us there, but I expect there'll be a presentation to council soon after the Plan Commission.
Okay, thank you. And then just one other, real briefly, I put it as and I guess you could say the grant is obviously part of that, but I think it's not just budgets that deals with the leach and budgets to our parks, but I just think we need to take a look at all of our city-owned properties and investments, and are we getting the best bang for our buck on a lot of those types of things? Currently the Parks Department manages and operates the leach, but, is that still the most effective way to go? There's other city-owned entities that we either subcontract out or we're just kind of leaving hanging out there. Are there some things, a direction that maybe we should be giving you, your staff, or is council aware of? I just think that, as several council members have mentioned tonight, we've had to make some tough decisions during the budgets on some of these things. And is there some operation issues that, or policy directions that we could be going that would benefit our assets that we own as a city? Whether it's City Hall, we're getting new carpeting here at City Hall. That was a budget thing, but we've done HVAC things in our other city-owned buildings. But just all the different contracts that we may have out there with third parties, are they in the best? Is that being run the best? There's going to be a lot coming up in the near future with the senior center, and should we be taking a different look at the senior center, and are we looking at what's in the best interest of the baby boomers coming up and ready to retire, and is the senior center meeting our needs, and all those types of assets that we have that make a great community. We've invested with the library, we've invested with the museum, so they're in good shape, but there are other city-owned properties, and I think we should just take a general look at all of them. And I had those as my 2015 list. So I thought I'd get them out there as long as we were talking. And the clerk and the city attorney were giving me some leeway, I believe.
Anybody else? Okay, not seeing anybody else, I will move on to citizen statements to the council. There's a second opportunity for people to come forward, make a comment, either positive or negative regarding the city or about concerns. Once again, would ask if you come up, limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Give us your name and address. Speak directly to the council, no electioneering, and speak to nothing that was on the agenda tonight.
My name is Patricia Diener, live at 1360 Broad. Come to you this evening in regard to enforcing codes. I mean, not codes, but ordinance. This summer, we have fun. We can walk. We don't have to worry about nothing. But come winter, people, husband and wives, like to walk. They walk around the college. They walk around my area. I walk. But, it's just people don't care anymore. They leave it sit for a week, ice build up. It's not fair. You're a homeowner or rental. It's your job to take care of the sidewalk and keep it up. Sure, I had to make a phone call this week. I don't mind calling in. I'm tired of it. We had a nice gentleman come that's working for the city. He came, he took a chisel and chiseled it out. He understood what I was going through and cleaned the mess up. It's probably $63 or more, but maybe if people understand that they have to keep up with this or be held responsible for liability. It's not fair to any of us that walk, and it's nice to have it done. And then I come this evening in regard to, I hear that you're probably in the works of doing the concrete work over in Custer, if they are. I appreciate you coming around between Monroe, Tennessee, Custer, and Broad in regard to the sidewalks. They need to be taken care of. They did it a few years ago, but there are sidewalks that need to be taken care of. You're a homeowner, you need to take care of your responsibility. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday. The day before Christmas Eve, there'll be, I've gone to it, I enjoy it. It brings back memories. The firemen that used to work for the fire department in Oshkosh, they put on a big meal for the city. Anybody that's welcome to come, you don't have to be homeless, just stop over. And then I want to wish you to come to the place to be. I was there Thanksgiving. We served about between 800 to 900 people. It's open to anyone. It's remarkable what they do out there. Joe had to step down, but he still did his full job, even being in working in Outagamie County. And you don't have to be alone. I mean, we do volunteer because we enjoy it. My family is growing up. And, if you go out and help someone that's less fortunate, and we don't want the old Grinch to steal Christmas. We've had a lot of break-ins in the city of Oshkosh. I go out to the St. Vincent de Paul to get groceries for a friend of mine. There was $5,000 to $6,000 taken. Some of it is Christmas stuff. It's a shame. And this is what we're trying to say. Leave lights on. Don't cut lights down. Somebody knew what they were doing. And this is why we got to stop all this cutting lights everywhere. Because even in downtown Oshkosh now, I come through there in the evening. It's so pitch dark. You guys lit up all the lights now for Christmas. It's more open. In that area with that main view, it's not a good idea to have everything so dark like that. You come down there at night, you never see people when they cross, leaving the tavern, leaving a business when it's dark. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else care to come forward? Seeing no one come forward, take us to council member announcements and statements. Recognizing city employees. Mr. Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that some people will just comment that, oh, they're just doing their job, but I wanted to point out that in the Northwestern the other day, there was a letter from a woman from Oshkosh that on November 27th, her husband suffered a massive heart attack. I want to send a special thank you to the paramedics who performed CPR and saved my husband's life. I also want to thank all the doctors and nurses in the emergency room and intensive care at Aurora Medical Center. The point I'm making is that, yes, city employees are just doing their jobs, but in doing their jobs, they are providing a service to the community, a service that the community wants, a service that the community needs, whether it be the fire department, the police department, the water department showing up last year when it was 20 below zero and a water main breaks, and they were out there getting soaking wet, and I don't think there's a lot of us that would even go outside when it's 20 below zero, let alone go and play around in the water. So I just want to recognize the fact that we have dedicated professionals and dedicated employees of this city who are here to serve the community and to serve the constituents of this community. So I just wanted people to understand that these people are here serving them and providing them with what they need and want.
I can add to what Mr. Peck said from personal experience. 2 weeks ago after the council meeting, and about an hour after I got home, my mother called, who lives down the street in an apartment. She's 98. She had fallen. I went down there. She obviously, I assume she broke her hip. I called 911. The paramedics were there in nanoseconds, and she did break her hip. They don't know if it broke when she fell or it broke and then she fell. But I watched them with the compassion and caring and how quickly they got her out of her apartment to the hospital. By that time I turned off the lights in my mother's apartment and locked it up and got to the hospital, she was already in the emergency room being examined. But she couldn't say enough about how nice the paramedics were. I mean, and she just went on about, especially the paramedic that rode with her in the ambulance, how nice he was. She said nothing about her son, but
does that say so?
But yes, it does. But to what Tom said, I was an observer, but I watched how fast and compassionate and caring they were, and and she's the spokesperson you can have for the paramedics in the city. And, so thank you.
Any other comments? Follow up with just one thing there. Just recently, the Oshkosh Police Department earned a 7th consecutive meritorious accreditation award from the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. We're one of only 3 police departments in the state of Wisconsin, one of only 600 in the country that have received this award. Indicated on there that demonstrated the police department's commitment to excellence and operating in compliance with the best practices in modern law enforcement. And I think we've seen a number of things, particularly reaching out into the community. I think this is important, particularly when police departments are being considered in various ways in the media and other places. I think the police department does a good job and has been recognized for that, so we commend them. Okay, city manager, announcements and statements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a memo in your agenda packet. We're being proactive with our 2015 and 2016 capital projects by working with CH2M Hill engineers to be ready to do modeling for projects that we're anticipating coming down the road, whether they're public or private, but primarily private. If there's a development project or a reconstruction project, we want to make sure that we get our water system tested for flow so that if we're getting underground with utilities, we make sure that we know our water system is meeting its needs, not just from how the pipes are doing, but are we getting enough proper flow to those areas. So we're going to be working on that through the winter, and happy to answer any questions if council has any.
Any questions of city manager? Okay, seeing none. Next thing, I'm going to ask the deputy mayor to provide a motion for the council to go into closed sessions.
Like a motion to go into closed session, the common council may convene into closed session pursuant to section 19.851C of the Wisconsin state statutes to discuss the performance evaluation and compensation regarding the city manager, an employee over which the common council has jurisdiction and exercises responsibility.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Anybody like to come forward to comment on the council going into closed session? Seeing no one come forward, to bring it back to the council. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to take care of having the vote taken on the motion.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Hansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, let's try and meet at 1:45. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.